Hey everybody, Danielle Egnew here. Welcome to InPsight Radio, where you are a fly on the wall to everywhere. I am so excited to have you join us. And I say us because I have a wonderful guest in the studio today. His name is Shane Kirkham. He is an interior designer, yet he's also an incredible empath. He's my very dear friend. And I'm so excited to have him as a guest today on InPsight Radio because we're going to be talking about vibration. We're going to be talking about color. We're going to be talking about ideologies in the world. And I invited Shane on. Not only is he an incredibly talented interior designer and owner of Kirkham & Company here in Bozeman, Montana, yet he is an empath who uses his gifts every single day, which I think is absolutely incredible. And before we really get rolling, I want to welcome everybody to our first podcast coming to you from the Gallatin Valley. As many of you know, I moved from my hometown of Billings, Montana, and here we are, and the Gallatin is so different, and it's got this feminine energy here, whereas my hometown of Billings, Montana is a very masculine energy. Bozeman is a very feminine energy, and the Gallatin Valley is very feminine. So I've been going through all of these different energetic reboots while I've been here. So I'm so happy to have Shane join me today to talk about vibration, color, mysteries, Montana. He's a bit of an aficionado on many paranormal cool fun facts. So Shane, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Danielle.
This is fun.
I know. This is great.
And the reason I have you on today is not only are you truly one of my very favorite people, you are my soul brother. I love you.
Yes.
Is that I really want people to understand how they can use their gift of empathy in their job, because you are a very vibrationally sensitive person. And I'm gonna brag Shane up just a little bit here because he generally doesn't brag himself up. Yet Shane designs interiors for incredibly notable people, and I won't say who because that violates his privacy and their privacy, but very famous people that you see in A-grade movies and people who own businesses. He does their homes up in Big Sky, Montana, as well as other places. And how would you describe Big Sky?
Oh, Big Sky. Well, it's full of these what you would call personal lodges that could house many people. They're just these fantastic homes. Some of them are reasonably sized, but most of them are just made for entertaining and the wealth. Let's just say Bill Gates, Justin Timberlake do have homes up there, but it's a lot of CEOs and things like that. And but it's a beautiful place in Big Sky, and it's very unlike Aspen because it's not a place to be seen. They want to go to get away, which kind of makes sense why I'm here, I guess, or I was brought here. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so that gives you the snapshot of Big Sky, everybody. Yeah. So today, Shane, I'm having you on because not only do you understand vibration and color and flow, because that's what you work in every day of your life, yet also Shane is just a wealth of knowledge in cool things like majestic Dolmans in Montana, which I'm going to tap you about. But let's start right now with vibration, okay? Yeah. Now, you are somebody who comes in and you look at a space, and how do you know? How do you know what to put where? I mean, how do you feel that in your body, that vibration of change or color or flow or movement?
Sometimes I still don't know that. I started doing interior design and I wasn't formally trained, and I just went by feel. And I actually, long story short, did an understudy under a major interior designer that moved to Bozeman, and I ended up replacing her formally educated designer. And I don't mean to say that like I replaced somebody, but I didn't know what I was doing, and then I learned and grew into it, and I was just very pushed, like, you've got this. And so ever since then, I just did everything by feeling, and then just word of mouth happened, and that was it. But I don't, when I walk into a house, sometimes I need a couple rounds of just walking through, and sometimes I need to be there alone, and I just start feeling, okay, what the furniture should look like, the placement, the color, because I think we've discussed this before. There's like light is vibration. So
right.
There should be a good flow of light going through. And we're affected by that because we are light beings. And
yes.
That's very important. It's very important where we sleep. It's very important where especially the living room and entertaining room and kitchen, because that's where we spend the majority of our time in our home. So yeah, you asked me where I don't know. I just kind of feel my way through, and I also feel my way through the clients. And you pay attention to subtle notes as to even what they're wearing or the color of the car they drive, and that can kind of speak into who they are. And so that's kind of how it started, and it just kind of escalated as I started studying vibration of color and sound and things like that. I'm no connoisseur of that, but
but you kind of are. See, and this is where I'm going to totally dive in here, because you kind of are, because you understand the physics of vibration as applied to the peace of mind or peace and healing of mind. And that's a spiritual gift. That's the gift of empathy. Right. And I don't think that people take their gift of empathy into their job and understand that that's what actually they're using.
Right. And I think most people, if not all people, have this gift of understanding vibration. And it can even be that gut sense of, something is right or wrong, something looks right, something doesn't look right. Whether you're aesthetically trained or not, when something is off in a room or in your office, or you just have that inkling. And we're designed to be in tune because, Mother Earth, we're designed to be in tune with the earth. And that's,
it's all symbiotic. It's symbiotic.
Completely.
And now you are in tune with the earth. And you are not only in tune with color, and you're in tune with how that color affects people and flow, yet you are in turn in tune with the elements. One of your favorite things are these dolmen in Montana. Yeah. And the reason I put Shane in the hot seat today is because not only is he a fabulous interior designer, yet he literally has so much to him. He pays attention to the vibration within. He's a huge empath. So tell folks about what these dolmen are and describe them for people, because this has to do with vibration.
Sure. Dolmen, I think most, whether you know what they are or not, you do. You've seen them on TV. Think about China or Scotland. It's the two large vertical stones with one on top.
Like Stonehenge.
And many of them are just an individual kind of, it looked like a dwelling, but dwellings aren't usually aligned to the winter or the summer solstice. And these are, or they're aligned with, in Montana, they're perpendicular to a ley line that actually runs all the way around the world. And it's something like, help me out here, the pyramids are on it, and it just goes up through Alaska. It goes straight through Billings, actually.
Yeah, my former hometown of Billings, Montana.
Right?
Yes.
And then it grazes down the south side of Helena, and these dolmen go around 20 to 30 miles. And I discovered them after I went to Ringing Rocks. We have a place called Ringing Rocks, and one of only a few places in the world where you can take a hammer, hit the rock, and it rings like an iron bell.
And these are big rocks, gang. I want you to think
huge.
of like a huge old glacial boulder, right? And you hit it and it goes bong. I mean, it just rings.
Right. And these are like the size of a truck.
Yeah, they're
some
huge.
of them. And they're completely out of place. So when I was up there, I just stood there for a minute, fascinated, and I looked over at a mountain and I thought, something is over there. What's going on? There is an energy here, and I didn't know what. So I started looking up about this area, and I found out you can look up Montana Dolman, and somebody has discovered the alignment of these that's perpendicular with the ley line. And so you and I were talking about that one evening, and I said, okay, so these are in a row, and I showed you a picture, and you just completely lit up.
I did, because if you look at these dolmen, gang, if you look at those Stonehenge dolmen, okay, you've got the two slabs of rock and the square one on the top.
Right.
These dolmen on top are round. They are round.
Yeah.
Now the square big capstone on top of the dolmen, like say it's Stonehenge, when you feel the energy in that dolmen, that is directing the energy. The two main giant pillars of stone are pulling energy up through the earth. And then the capstone throws it like a north and south magnet to either side of the dolmen next to it. So Stonehenge is created to create a powerful circle. It keeps the power within the circle. These dolmen in Montana, the capstones are round. And what I think is so fascinating about that is the round capstone contains the energy and focuses it back within the two tall side pieces. So if you were to look at the dolman like the head of a needle, like you're putting a thread through it, where the thread would come through the needle. That's where the energy is being directed through these dolmen. And we've got to go up there because obviously someone created a jump off of the ley line, like the letter T has the stalk that tees off into the top of it. So that perpendicular stalk is driving all of that electricity and messaging and ley line power in another direction for a specific reason. It's like splicing a cable line. Like it went on there and it spliced a cable line and took it all the way down. So I would love to go up and see what's still being transmitted.
So what do you think what is still being transmitted, and what do you think, I mean, this is so theoretical. Why, and what would be still going on?
If I am, let's take this back, because really we've been in the masculine time frame for 100,000 years. We've switched into the feminine time frame. In 2012, we had a 5-year fade-in period, so we are squarely in the feminine time frame right now.
Right.
And so the last 100,000 years of humanity has been in the masculine time frame. Now, with this round dolmen on top, I have to ask, I wonder if they got placed here in the last feminine epoch of humanity. We are literally the third version of humans on the earth. We've been wiped out completely twice, almost completely, 2 other times. Right. And so I'm wondering if during the feminine time frame and this round dolmen jumping off of that ley line, I'm wondering if there was an area where people were doing ceremony, that they needed that ley line power, or it could have been related to our off-world friends. It could have been a UFO issue. If UFOs were using a certain hotspot to come and go, they're going to want to pull that ley line energy. It could have been navigational.
Who knows?
Who knows? Okay. I mean, until we stand in the middle, we won't know, Shane, so we have to go. We've got to go. I mean, and that brings up another point, because here we're in this changing of time frames, and you are a guy, obviously you're an interior designer, yet we are in the feminine time frame. Yeah. And so I'm watching, you talk about accessing messages. I'm watching a lot of gentlemen try to get on board with the new vibrations that are on the earth. And our entire operating system has changed, right? It's gone from the masculine to the feminine. So, for you as a male that is very comfortable in feeling vibrations and just surfing from one zone to the other, what would you tell other guys out there who are struggling with this jump from the masculine, which became the imbalanced patriarchal towards the end, to the feminine? Because you guys were literally told to ignore your feminine side.
Right.
So what would you tell to these guys who might be feeling that they don't know how to jump off their own ley line, how to bring their own personal power forward? What would you tell them as somebody who feels pretty balanced in this time frame?
Wow. Well, something that's helped me in every day is, and I know this sounds corny, but meditation, really knowing who you are, because in this day and age, we have things that keep us preoccupied, like material things, like, as I said before, like if you have a lifted truck or... Right.
Lifted truck with like the little silver scrotum attached to the back on your tow package.
Exactly.
We all need those.
Right. There are so many things that are of status, and you got to stop and ask yourself, is this really who I am? Does this make who I am? Because we found so many things that make us feel secure and that make us belong, but they're not real. And so many of that comes down from the masculine side.
Like the John Wayne type of thing, kick butt, take names, brr.
Right. And we're hanging on to that. And we need to kind of let go. And it doesn't mean we're less masculine. But I think we've been taught this false idea, and we need to understand that we've been looking at smoke and mirrors for so long. And that's why the insecurity comes in, or the problem with finances, or the problem with this comes in, because we're still grasping onto something that is disappearing.
Yes.
So therefore, as a man, like meditating at home, exercising, things, because our bodies are a temple.
Yes.
And again, vibration. Things like that are so important. And also, I have a hard time with this, sitting alone. So you can really just listen to yourself, listen to your spirit, listen to whatever your higher power is. That's vital right now. Because as we've discussed, we're changing over. And it's affecting everybody. And especially in the United States, where we have been geared towards corporations.
Right.
And we go to work for so many years and then we retire, and that template is going away.
Yes.
And it also is showing that the feminine is creeping in. Like,
yes.
Look how Google does business. They're not the same. They have sleeping areas and play areas and common areas. It's completely different than the typical, let's wear a tie, the boss works on the top floor, and it goes down from there.
Right. The hierarchy is different.
Right. Exactly.
And so in this, so you're telling fellas, be okay to just not depend so much on the exterior.
Right.
Because that's something I've noticed. And again, I'm obviously a female, cisgendered female. I identify with being female. Yet being able to look at this and say, I really do believe that even in our Me Too movement, during our Me Too timeframe, and I can talk from the Me Too perspective. I've had a lot of rotten things happen. I've been denied bigger record deals because I would not get a boob job, which is a real story. And, I was literally told that I did not turn a record executive on, so I needed to get my boobs fixed. Right. And I looked at him and I said, well, you're not who I'm trying to turn on, so I guess we're okay. And I mean, I didn't get the extra $3 million, but I didn't. I mean, I could speak to being a woman who's been, had to deal with all the crap that we've had to deal with. Yeah. Yet I think it's important that we also put a bit of a spotlight on the guys that have had to endure this false sense of masculinity, this character of the self, like the John Wayne. Right. And this is what you're talking about, is how do we not become so externalized, and how do we maintain that masculine self, but listen.
Wow, that's a tough one. I think to answer that, we kind of have to go back in time a bit to, if you think about the Vikings or the Egyptians, they really weren't, it was more of a balanced society, especially the Vikings. I mean, we were taught that they wore helmets with horns, and that's really not true. They've never found any of that in any of the digs. I
mean, just sidebar, who would even, hi, I'm a Viking and I have cow horns.
Right.
What is that?
I think I have that as a Halloween costume in my closet somewhere.
Okay. Right.
But they really were, they're discovering there were women that were, kind of led armies, and they really shared power. And so we kind of have to think back to that, because I think as guys, we think of, prehistoric people as the men leading and, dragging the women around by the hair. And that's so not true.
Right.
So we have to think, okay, this is how it has been for thousands of years. And the time we're living in is such a short, minuscule part of history, which is really hard to imagine, because it feels like we're so advanced and all of these things. And we have to step out of that. And we have to let our ego and our pride go to really understand what reality is.
Well, and that's going to get tough if we've been socialized under the imbalanced masculine, which has pushed everybody to be in a place of pride and poker bluff and stick your chest out. And I mean, we look at the state of the way that even the government is positioning itself, and it's not a political statement, it is an energetic statement. Yeah. We've got this bluster and all this poker face, and oh my God. And the whole feminine time frame is over here going, you guys can go ahead and struggle with that all you want, but it's not going to make a darn bit of difference. You're going to have to stand in that dolman, in that ley line, and pull from Mother Earth and pull your power from the place that's never, ever taken it away from you.
Right. And I think it's the political things that are happening, and the things that are happening in the world, and violence. And I think we're just kind of fighting against that feminine. It's inevitable that it's going to happen. And it's kind of like your clock. Noon is going to come, midnight's going to come. It's actually part of our solar system and our clockwork.
Yes.
It just keeps coming around, and this is that time frame.
It is the vibration of this time frame. Exactly.
Right.
You're exactly right. To just accept this changeover in systems. So I'm going to flip this pancake back over to what you do, in your job, where you're going in and you are creating these environments that are healing for people with color and with shape. And people are familiar with feng shui. Right. And what would be some just off the top, because we're talking vibration, we're talking about how to get people into a space where they feel good enough to go inside instead of constantly reaching outward for what they need. And being at home is a big part of that.
Being at home is a huge part of that. And it doesn't matter the neighborhood you live in or what type of house you live in. That's irrelevant. It's about furniture placement. It's a good idea to actually they have basic books on feng shui and placement. That's a good start. And you don't have to use that as your religion.
Right.
But it's kind of a guide mark. But also another thing is, the flow of water. You can find little fountains and stuff like that everywhere. But, you need to clean your space up. Too many people have your furniture to where it's just in awkward places and there's no flow. And there's no conversation pit when you have people over.
Conversation pit.
Yes.
Now let's talk about that.
Okay.
Let's converse about the conversation pit. When you talk about having a conversation pit, what does that even mean? I mean, most people they've got their couch they got in their divorce, and they got the spare chair they got at the garage sale and whatever.
Right.
So what is it, and how do you make one?
Oh well, basically, I had a friend and they had this living room. And they, again, hodgepodge of furniture. So they put all their furniture on the back walls, and it was like yelling at somebody across the room, "Hey, how are you?" So it's basic. Like you usually have a coffee table. So if you have 2 to 2.5 feet of walking space, and you can create an L or a U, or even across from one another, that's actually reasonable. That's the kind of thing you want, and especially if you have a fireplace, that's nice, or a door facing outside. And I know this all sounds basic, but it's really surprising how many people don't do that. And
well, even like you were talking earlier about how when you come in the front door, if you happen to have a house where you come in the front door and you see windows, that's great. So you're saying you don't necessarily want to come in the front door and walk right into the back of a couch.
Right.
If you can help it.
Literally or figuratively. It's really nice when you know this feeling when you walk up to a home and they have a glass front door and you can see light coming all the way through the structure. That's such a good feeling. And you open the door and light is energy. So when light can go all the way through, it really is taking all those toxins and all of that kind of stuff. It's helping that considerably to be removed from your home. So flow of light is good. And you can also use mirrors to, no pun intended, smoke and mirrors, to help with that. Just no mirror facing your front door, but just to create a sense of open space. And another thing you can do is if, like in your cubicle, not all of us have had office jobs, but
I've had the job.
I've had the
job.
Crappy
cubicle. It sucks. I've had that job.
Yep. 7 minutes to clock in. Not too early, not too late.
Yeah, right.
That really was not fun. But something you can do is, if you have a photograph of a place you've been, you can Google things, but if it's a place you've been that makes you happy, and realize that your whole life is not your cubicle, and just look at that and maybe escape for a bit too. Take a walk or whatever. Like I've told you stories about being stressed out in a meeting and excusing myself. Like I had to go to the bathroom and I didn't. And I literally had this Zen Buddha moment on the toilet in a stall.
Yes. And the crowd goes wild.
Exactly.
Because everybody's done that.
Right.
Yes.
And you just kind of have to, I'm going to say this, flush all that crap out of your spirit.
Yes, you do.
But I know it sounds crazy, but like even doing something stupid like that and collecting yourself, I know it's minute, but what are you doing? Vibration, high and low. We know low vibration is negative, high vibration is positive. So even in that moment in the bathroom stall or wherever, that you can calm yourself down, go back out to the world, go back to that boss, go back to that screaming child or whatever, it can really make a huge difference. And we forget to do those little things that are so important. And I know we've got off the house topic, but again, it links in with the vibration.
Well, it does link in, and it actually even links in with our time frame. because, the masculine time frame, the divine masculine is fabulous. The imbalanced masculine, which was towards the end of the divine masculine, really put a stress on if you're feeling freaked out, if you're feeling like you're overwhelmed, then punch it. Kill it, drag it behind your truck with the metal scrotum attached to the tow hook. It was just like this big thing. And you're saying, and again, from the male perspective, and I appreciate this so much because you're saying that, well, I'll get to why in a second, but I appreciate it because you're saying that we as men too need to step off of it. We don't just need to punch it, smash it, crush it, own it, dominate it. Take a break.
Right. Because too many times in that punch it, kill it. Yes, we are advancing and we're seeing that. However, what we have been missing in the masculine is while we're doing it that way, we might be advancing 40%, but if we would have stopped and talked and listened, we could have advanced 60 or 80%, meaning in the spiritual world and in the physical world.
Absolutely. And this portion of the feminine time frame coming in with the masculine, after the masculine time frame.
Right.
The first 5 years of the feminine time frame was a bit of an imbalanced wobble. And the imbalanced feminine is martyrdom and victimizing the self.
Okay.
And yes, women are victimized by other people. I'm talking about victimizing the self. Right. So that becomes then a weird portion. If you look at what came into the Me Too movement, we were starting to say, hey, guess what? This is not cool. This doesn't work. And then being able to advance from that, say, I was victimized, to move past the section of being the martyr into the section of being the person who has grown from that. Women, if we can move past our need to say, but you don't understand what happened to me. Yeah, we should talk about what happened to us. Believe me. Yes. And I have a list, 25 years in entertainment. I have a list a mile long of people who wanted to sleep with me and tried, and, borderline rape situations and all these different things of people just saying, I own you. You're my commodity. I own you. That were men. I certainly understand that. What you're saying is, hey, if we would listen to the inner feminine, because we have the yang and the yin, and yang is male and yin is feminine.
Right. No, there really are two sides. Well, the other thing I would say to everybody, because this is affecting everybody, is you really, if you don't think this is happening, this is happening. And if you're going to ignore that this is changeover, you're going to have even a harder time going from the masculine to the feminine. Which kind of leads me to another question. So when does this happen? Like what was kind of the year that this whole thing is going to switch over?
So it actually switched over from the masculine to the time frame of the feminine on December 21st, 2012, which everybody thought was the Mayan New Year, the end of the world. Well, it was the end of a particular operating system. Then we had a 5-year fade-in period, and in 2017, we cleared out of the fade-in period into the feminine time frame. So now we are squarely in it. And so the divine masculine in its imbalance is bully rageaholic. The divine feminine in its imbalance is the martyred victim. And so as we come into a place of personal balance and power with one another in this, we are going to have a time frame that we don't have a handbook for this time frame. We've never had a handbook for the feminine being the stewardship operating system for society or for the world.
I see.
For the last 100,000 years. Now, when those dolmen were put up, I will bet you anything they were put up in the first or second epoch of humanity. And I bet they were put up during the last feminine time frame.
Right. Wow.
So there's probably a lot of really incredible knowledge that comes through that relay that would help us. And listening to Mother Earth. Listen to Mother Earth.
Right. And these were placed on Earth. This is the whole antenna system. How fascinating. Which has to do with vibration.
Exactly. So as we sit in this place of paying attention to your vibration, words have weight. We talk about that on the show all the time. And words do have weight. So if we're negative Nancys and negative Neils at the water cooler, we will create negative vibrations around us. Color carries huge vibration.
Yes.
And you have warm color, you've got cool color. Let me ask you a question. I'm just dead curious about this. Okay. This kind of has nothing to do with anything except for my own freakish curiosity. Everybody's decorating with gray. Now, what the hell is the vibration of gray? I mean, I used it in one painting that I did one time of aspens, and it had to do with the limbic system or something. But what do you feel gray represents?
Yeah, okay, the literal whatever on the Geiger counter, I'll have to look up. I don't know. It can be very calming, and in a weird way, since this is the new trend, which as a designer, it's already oversaturated in my mind, so I'm tired of it personally.
Yeah,
However, if you think about the time we're in, it is calming. So it kind of makes sense that people are being attracted to this environment, and companies are being attracted to this color because they know it's the new trend and it's selling.
Right.
Like Restoration Hardware, that's like half of their color. It's like 90% of their color palette. So again, when you talk about vibration and talking at the water cooler,
right.
Stumbled upon something, and maybe some of you out there have heard of this, but the alphabet has vibration. If you look at all the letters of the alphabet and trace them back to their ancient heritage, it was all purposeful. Look at the M, it looks like a mountain. Look at the V, it looks like a valley. I mean, we say a curse word. Well, there is the word curse in that. So you're speaking a negative term like you're cursing somebody else.
Right.
So that's why in language, we need to be positive and build each other up. And that's so important right now. And you've heard neighbors to talk show hosts to politicians even say, we need to put our differences aside and we need to come together. What's that going to do? It's going to form a higher vibration and it's going to start healing everything. And that's started actually.
It absolutely has started. And if we do a wraparound to that, bringing that vibration, bringing our purpose, you're a huge empath and you happen to exhibit that healing gift through design. So you being able to go in and say, you know what, I'm an empath. I'm going to feel your space. I'm going to allow this flow of the room in a way that will help you heal and help you unload. Hear what we're talking about here, gang, because if you are a truck driver, if you are a nurse, if you are an office worker, how do you go and bring your ability to resonate at a higher vibration? How do you bring that to where you work? How do you unleash the stewardship, which is the new leadership style for this new world? The stewardship. How do you take this stewardship in and create a new vibration with it? Because the days of having the one leader are over. They're done.
Yeah.
You know, we can look at the president or our pastor or a boss or whatever. Yet the feminine time frame asks everybody to come together in stewardship and to be able to bring your piece of the pie, masculine or feminine, yin or yang,
right,
to meet in the middle. And it's interesting you talk about government. I always swear, if I ever become president someday, I'm going to divide up the sides of the aisle and I'm going to put, conservative, liberal. There's going to be no more aisle. It's going to be like, European theater seating out there. I mean, it's going to be completely awesome. But I probably won't be president, so we don't need to worry about that. So whatever.
I'll vote for Egnew.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Free pizza for everybody. Yay, vote for me. Oh, my Lord. Well, Shane, before we get too far off the topic here, because we are in this feminine time frame and because we are talking about vibration, what can you tell me about examples in this time frame, especially when we're dealing with the feminine? I mean, where have you seen this vibrationally come up?
So, as you know, there's more women, running in the government, and coming into, or coming back into power, and we're seeing that for the first time since I can remember. And Reese Witherspoon, she made a movie independently, and they said don't use your own money, and she did anyway. And I don't remember the details, but it had to do with there were a lot of women in it, and it was just very empowering. So I know there's this change. So, and we're talking about, men losing their ground, but at the same time, like, I know this can't be easy for women, even though it's the feminine coming into.
Right.
So how is this affecting the feminine, and how are they having trouble in dealing with this?
Well, and I can speak firsthand on that. We don't have anybody to tell us what to do. We've had the mansplaining, we've had the here's your glass ceiling, we've had the here's
right,
what you can aspire towards. And now there are no more reasons to fail. So what I'm seeing women do is we're sitting here going, oh my God, now I can feel that I should rise up and do all this cool stuff and fill in all these spaces, yet I don't have the emotional training for that. I've never been told that I'm excellent in terms of how I need to be with my money, with a business plan. I don't know how to push the right way. So women are feeling, at the same time, we're feeling very empowered.
Yeah.
We're also feeling kind of lost to try to execute that empowerment in the way that would be visibly noticeable, okay. Through the masculine. So ladies, I would tell you this, we've got to expand out and we've got to do what we want to do without trying to throw it through the imbalanced patriarchal framework. Because women don't, and men, nobody likes to talk about this, but we are not raised the same way. We are not empowered to push people out of the way and just get it done. We aren't empowered to talk somebody down. And if we are, we're the bitch. And then we're ostracized, So the same rules that we've tried to apply, that the masculine has been demanded, when we do, it doesn't fit and we come off like a ton of bricks and it's a completely different thing. And it's like, oh my God, there's a lot of power there and I don't like it. So don't bully me. So ladies, we've got to come forward in a way that is completely separate in how we allow our, like you said, government, our leadership style. Women tend to be collective stewards. We're not comfortable being the only person with the last say. We want everybody to be happy. We want everyone to have a say. We want everything to be balanced, and we'll pull the card and the ace out of the pocket if we have to shut down a conflict so that things can roll forward in a productive manner. But the feminine wants to nurture. It doesn't want to rule. It wants to nurture. Yeah. So ladies, we have to go forward in our own way, and there is no template for this, Shane. We've got to go forward in our own way of leadership, of outstanding, devising new forms of connected government through our scaffold, which is obviously under it's a very masculine scaffold. So we've got to work in not tearing down that scaffold. It's not that we're going to tear it all down, just bringing a different style into the system that's currently existing. And I think women are really struggling here.
Right. But almost sounds like it's one part education and thought and planning, and the other thought, just start throwing and see what sticks kind of a situation.
Well, kind of. Yeah, we sort of have to do that because we have never been told, if we do well within the masculine structure, and this isn't a poor me thing, this is an actual being a woman thing.
Right.
If you do well in the masculine structure, then you've always got a hairy eye on you to see who are you sleeping with, or are you really secretly a bitch, or I can't trust you. And look at poor Hillary Clinton. That woman came up at a time where she had to play the masculine game, and it just did not play well. People can't stand her. They think she's completely untrustworthy because it was never going to fit for Hillary, the Scorpio, the hyper feminine, to hyper masculinize herself. Of course that's going to read as disingenuous. Right there, and that is disingenuous. And so people like or don't like politicians, but we're just talking energies here. So within that, for you ladies out there listening, we have an opportunity to bring what is indigenous, the yin, forward and ignite the yin in our male counterparts. This is not a competition. And back in the Viking days, like you were talking about, the males did not suppress the femininity of the females. They empowered it. It was before we got into this imbalanced patriarchal.
Yeah, they worked more as teamwork. And back to, well, I hate to bring it back to corporate America, but if you think about, this is on a positive note, how our world has changed, and this partially has to do with just America in general, eating fake cheese and all of that. But
cheese food.
Right.
Yes. The best 1972 had to offer.
Exactly. Just put some yellow coloring in, it'll be great.
Yeah.
But look where we're going to. We're seeing more farms spring up. We're seeing more farms spring. You can edit that.
That's great. Go for it.
You're seeing more farmers, and that's becoming more important. More small farms, and we're eating more from the land. And because people recognize what was going on. These big male-driven corporations started to run the food. And that has changed. And I think it's changed in our spirituality. We're seeing people and there's nothing wrong with church, but they're kind of falling away from these big box churches and trying to find their own voice and realizing they need to be more connected to the earth. And I don't think everyone realizes what's happening, that they need to be more connected to the earth. We say Mother Earth. It's kind of calling us back. And that's what's happening. And those are all really good things. I mean, you've always seen farmers markets, but now they're everywhere.
Right.
And it's fantastic. Yeah.
And so think about that. Mother Earth, farming.
Yeah.
Okay. And some of the best balances that I've ever seen in a male human, best female male chi balances, were farmers, because they are caring for the earth, they are caring for the cattle, they are caring for the chickens. I mean, they are caring for everything.
Right.
And from that perspective, then we have a whole different look at, oh my God, being stewards of something, not just cutting it down for the almighty dollar.
Right.
And really, it's kind of interesting because both the masculine and the feminine in their non-divine places, in their imbalanced places, remind me of adolescence. An adolescent female is, I can't do it. I need help. Or they get really bitchy, don't talk to me. Don't tell me to do that. Blah. It's one or the other. And the adolescent male is like, well, I can do this and I can do that and shut up. And I'm going to punch you in the face. And, and it's like, oh my God. And the imbalance, we're all like, 15. And so to come out of that adolescence energetically and come into this place of grand balance, that is the vibration that we're being beckoned to right now. And it is an important vibration. It is very important.
We've been so insulated, you could say.
Hugely insulated.
Yeah, you could take that figuratively and literally. I mean, you've seen these videos, or maybe on Gaia or whatever, of people taking their shoes off and actually walking on the soil.
Oh, yeah.
That's so important. And once and I've had an office job for a while, and then taking my shoes off and walking out when I hadn't for over a year, I'm like, oh my gosh. And this is before I really realized about vibration. And that's so important. So right back to the farmers.
Right.
More connected figuratively and literally to the earth.
Right. And that's the big part about that's so intense, is that as we do the wraparound for how do we come forward with what we've got in this time frame, the wraparound is pay attention to the vibration. Pay attention.
Yes.
These dolomens, these megaliths, they were here transmitting a vibration before vibration was cool, before EMF signals and cell phones were cool. They were the original transmitters. What are they transmitting and why? The pyramids. And I've talked a lot on this show about pyramids and how they were transmitters and power generators and stargates and space-time benders. We have all of this capability, and we have now moved away from the time frame where the almighty dollar is going to control everything. And there are people who are in denial about that. There are people who don't believe that. Yet we are going to watch a cataclysmic failure in our money system because we're putting too much stress on a fake thing, as opposed to, again, grounding into the earth and supporting each other. Right. And we're going to we've deified this money. And the problem with that is, as we deify money, it's a vibration.
Yeah.
It's an energy.
It is.
And so, no matter who you are listening, if you are a counselor, or if you're a teacher, or if you're an interior designer, whatever you are a being that operates on frequency. And that frequency conglomeration, we must pay attention to what the largest transmitter right now that we could possibly key into is a ball of rock spinning at 3,600 miles an hour, and we are living on it, and it's called the Earth. This is the largest transmitter of information that we can key into right now. And that, again, Mother Earth, the farmers, the paying attention to stewardship, the new leadership. Watch this in the news. Real leaders are going to emerge, but they are stewards of something else. They are a steward of the country. They are a steward of their community. They are a steward with others to come together to create something larger than themselves. This is the original leadership, or the New World leadership. And it's really funny. I say New World.
Right.
Of course, it brings back to my Christian upbringing,
Right.
New World Order. New
Uh-huh.
World Order. There's a New World Order, and you must adhere to the New World Order. Actually, the New World has nothing to do with the New World. The New World Order is the Old World Order.
And so it sounds like they've tried to put a spin on it and conspiracy theorists and make it into a bad thing when they kind of maybe knew it was coming all along. So they're like, hey, let's prepare people as they scratch their head. What do we do?
And the New World Order is this. The original world beckons us all to pay attention to the vibrations of our thoughts, our homes, and our life. And, look at this conversation. Look at all of these topics that we've covered,
right,
which have been vast. We have covered a ton of different topics here.
Right.
And these topics are all about what is it like to be a human being working a job where your technical title is interior designer.
Yeah.
Yet you're a huge empath. And you make spaces livable and healable. You heal spaces, Shane. And you heal.
Thank you.
You do. And you heal people through that. So why I want to use that as an example is no matter who we are listening out there, if you're a teacher, if you're somebody who works on a road crew, how do you take your empathic abilities? How do you heal the space that you occupy? What do you do in your daily life that enables you to heal others? You don't have to have a radio show, a TV show. You don't have to have a YouTube channel. How do you vibrate at a level that allows a balance of these masculine and feminine energies to come in so that you are a responsible steward for what you have been given? That's how we're going to heal the world. That is the peace of the world. That's the second coming of Christ. That's the big enchilada right there.
Completely. And we were also just talking about John McCain passing.
Oh, yeah, we were,
And it's whether you're Republican or Democrat, no matter what color you are, whatever, it doesn't matter. He made a good point, and several people, like even Lady Gaga in show business, she made a point to say, we've got to stop tearing each other down, and we have to start bringing each other together. We need to start building each other up. I mean, we've heard it a million times, but we don't hear it on the news enough. A country divided, cannot stand.
Right.
And so that's one of the things. Like John McCain was all for bringing America together.
Right.
No matter the details of some of his beliefs, whether we agreed or not, he was just such a fantastic human being. And I think it's so important, instead of saying gun owner, non-gun owner, to quote Lady Gaga. And I could go on and on and on. We need to lay down our differences and come together on both sides of the aisle, because we are living and starting to live in a low vibration because we're kind of being messed with. And on an individual level, what we can't do is say, oh my God, the world's falling apart. Oh, did you hear the news? Oh, you got to start with yourself. And I know it can feel like, oh, I don't matter, and it doesn't matter because everything feels so big.
Right.
Big money, big people, and big buildings, and this and this. But no, we have to lose that mentality. And we have to, sometimes I don't even watch the news, and I have to start with myself and make sure I'm in a good place where I need to be. It doesn't mean bodybuilder or whatever. It means like health in general.
Yes.
And just make sure I have a clear mind and I can be happy and I can go forward with my day. And I know it sounds so basic, but it's so true. If we could all start doing that, and we are actually connecting too.
Oh, very much so.
No matter what the world is saying, this is happening. People are finding their voice. People are finding their running shoes, and they are coming together, which is amazing. And we should talk about that more.
I think we should talk about it more. And the nature of fear that we've been taught, the tribalism of fear. There are people who are very invested in keeping us divided. And if we stay divided, we spend money in trying to buy things that make us feel better. Guns, cars, pretty shoes,
right,
whatever, boobs. I mean, whatever it is, I mean, we spend money to make ourselves feel better. Yeah. If we key into the world, into the earth, into each other, there is such joy there that at that point, we aren't needing to spend millions and millions of dollars on stuff just to make ourselves feel better. At that point, we're sitting here going, hey, I feel really good about who I am and what I am and what I've brought to the table.
Right.
And when we get to that point, then we're able to say, God, I am a person of grand substance. Because not because of my car, not because of my boobs, not because of of my job or what I do. I am of grand substance because I am, period.
Right.
I am. I am the living embodiment of Mother, Father, God. I am the mouthpiece for the Mother Earth. I am you. You are me. We are #Earth Tribe. I mean, we are one people. And I always said, if I ever become president of the United States, I'd love that job. I would love that job because I'm a translator, right? So I could look into somebody and translate for somebody else what they actually mean, as opposed to like, well, here's the agenda on the party line.
Right.
Hell with that. My first act as president is I would go into the Congress and I would mix up the seating chart. There would be no aisle anymore. I would go conservative, non-conservative, conservative, liberal. And where we were running out, I would intersperse and I would change some of these people that have sat in those same chairs for 30 and 40 years. I'm like, you're out of there, out of your seats.
Right.
And I would force them to sit with one another so that we would have to, there's nothing in the Constitution that says you have to sit on one or the other side of the aisle. That's just some weird thing that happened because we get tribalist. So not that I'm going to be president, but I mean, if we can take those tenets forward and we can move in a way that is not heavy, and we can vibrate in a way that is light. And it doesn't mean happy or sad. It doesn't mean conservative or liberal. It doesn't mean gun owner or not gun owner. It means let's key into the earth and one another and do what's best for the whole.
Right. Not to mention, boy, did they need their damn drapes replaced. The Congress.
Do they? What's up with their drapes?
They've been there for over 100 years. I mean, think about it.
What do they look like?
Stuffy and wreaths and stuff like that.
Ew.
I said it more jokingly, but anyway.
No, but I'm like really serious. I'm like, goo, but think about the carpet. Think about everything that's absorbed. I
never thought about that.
My God, because everything absorbs everything. I mean, it's like you got half a mind to go in there and redo the whole thing and put new, fresh stuff in.
What fuchsia vibrates at?
Fuchsia. Oh my God, I don't know. Could you see that? Welcome to my fuchsia White House. I love you all. Come to the Congress.
I had to go there, didn't I?
Fuchsia, and you know what one of my favorite colors is? And people just puke all over it, and I love it, is chartreuse. That very vibrant, weird green.
Right.
I love that. Green, yellow.
And what a pretty name. Chartreuse.
Chartreuse.
Right.
I love chartreuse.
So
I got a fuchsia and chartreuse in the Congress.
As we...
Wake everybody up. Wake up. We have laws to pass.
A visual scream. So, again, speaking on vibration and down to the human level, like my friend Jen, she has her master's in counseling or... I don't know the terms. Anyway, I was talking to her one day and I was going through something, and one thing she always does is she tells you you are important just because you exist. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. It doesn't matter what job you have. She's like, no, you are important just because you are. You have to know that. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
No matter who you marry, no matter what, forget it. Just because you're here, you're important.
That's true.
And it's so simple, but it just kind of blew my mind. I was like, wow, I never really thought about that until she said that.
Well, because we don't. Because especially in the United States of America, we are taught you are important if. You are important if.
Right.
Do you have letters after your name? How much money do you have? How important are you? How many reality shows do you have? How many followers do you have on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram? And the fact is, the time frame of the feminine looks at all of those metrics and goes, okay, well, that's cool. And it's great that you have followers. Yet what are we doing together? That's the feminine time frame. Not look at me. I have 10, 100 million, 1,000 followers. That's masculine. The feminine is going, that's awesome. Now, what do you do with all your reach? What do you do with it? So you are important because you are here. What do you do with the importance that is you?
Yeah.
And, you asked earlier, how is it for women in this time frame? A lot of the males are also feeling the same sort of disempowerment that women have felt with this new switch in energies, because the energy isn't pushing for those males to get out there and push. The energy is saying, you got to find another way. And so a lot of fellows are going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Whereas women for generations were going, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to communicate and talk to you. None of this is working. So I'll get really masculine and get called a bitch,
Right.
So I think instead of falling into these vibrational pits of polarization, it's really important, as we kind of make a wraparound and wrap up our hour here, it's important that we have the ability to come forward and say, I am unafraid in my fear. Now think about that. I am unafraid in my fear. We're going to be afraid, but I am unafraid to face the fear of transition. I am unafraid in my fear, because that makes us at least not get tribal and nasty with one another and try to smush people because we're not sure what's going on with us. And that's a place that I think it's very important that we try to stay out of that suppression, that place of suppression.
Right. I would agree. And again, the place of fear, it's like there is a fear factor out there, but there's also the fear that's within you. That fear is not necessarily the end of that's something you need to push past.
Right.
That's something you need to push past, and as on an individual level.
When has the fear itself, fear can kill you. I mean, it can stop your heart. It can overrun your adrenal system.
Right.
Yet really, honestly, when's the last person we really heard of somebody dying literally of fear?
Right.
Fear's not going to kill you, not unless you really, really go there, and you probably could shut your heart down with anything if you want to go there. It's not going to kill you, yet we will do anything to not experience fear, including living in great illusion and living in great destruction and living in great duress. Day to day, we'd be super uncomfortable just as long as we don't face fear. Think about that. What kind of life is that? What would happen if we just said, okay, well, I'm not going to be afraid of my fear, even though I'm fearing, I'm not going to be afraid of it. And I'm just going to go for the change. And I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm going to call a friend and say, I have no clue. Why am I even on the earth? Because my purpose is worn out in my mind, because the feminine time frame came along and said, well, what are you going to do with yourself? Not what can you do? Not show me what you can do, but show me what you are. Show me what you are, says the feminine time frame.
Interesting. I think this session brings up more questions than answers, which is not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
It's true. And we're going to leave all of you with these incredible questions for next time. And I do want to thank you, Shane, for coming on.
Thank you.
And of course, we'll have you back because this is so much fun. And here's the thing, gang. I want to encourage everybody to get into these conversations at home. Get into conversations with your family. Get into conversations with your mate. Again, I brought Shane on because he is a hugely spiritually intuitive person, and he does work as a healer in his field, which of course is interior design. Yet those design spaces allow people to heal so that their families can heal, so that they can do better work in the world. So you don't need to be the guru, all right? I want to empower everybody today to be the steward of what you've been given to be the steward of. And I mean, I appear to be the steward of giving this message right now. So, because I'm no one to empower you. I'm a chick sitting in my studio right now. However, you have something in you, as Shane was saying, that is beautiful and valuable. And let's work on those vibrations of creating spaces in our lives that allow us to freely vibrate and bring who we are to the table. Not what can you do, not what can you be, not what can you produce, but who we are to the table. That is this feminine time frame. And I want to remind everybody that I do have an Ascension Tour coming up on September 8th, as well as September 22nd. 8th, I'm going to be in Portland, Oregon at Unity of Portland. And September 22nd, I will be in Boulder, Colorado at the Unitarian Fellowship. And so get your tickets online at ascensiontour.com. It's $75 general admission, or $155 gets you a VIP pass. And that gets you the entire 3-hour event where I translate angelic messages for our time. I do a question and answer. And a few lucky folks are going to actually get individualized angel readings, which is going to be cool. So go on, and if you get those VIP tickets, you get to hang out with me at an after party for an extra 2 hours, and we're going to have conversations like Shane and I are having here. So go ahead, visit ascensiontour.com. Thank you so much for listening. Be who you are in the realm of the world, for you are the gift that the world has been waiting for. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.